Mr. President, I rise in strong support of President Obama's nominee to serve as our 23rd Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta. Big shoes to fill. Secretary Gates has had a remarkable term as Secretary and a remarkable career in public service. In addition, the challenges our military faces in this economic climate are significant. We must have a serious discussion about crafting a sustainable way forward. I sat down with Director Panetta earlier this month to discuss these challenges. I can say with certainty, Leon Panetta is up to the test. He has the experience and wisdom required, and I look forward to working with him once the Senate gives its advice and consent to his nomination. I've known Leon Panetta for a long, long time. We served together in the House of Representatives, and we've worked together in government for many years. He has an amazing history of public service to America. We served together on the House Budget Committee when we were both congressmen in the early 1990s, and he chaired that committee. He understands budgets and the challenges they present. As director of the Office of Management and Budgeting, he took that skill to the executive branch. And as chief of staff to President William Jefferson Clinton, he crafted the proposal which brought us to balance in our budget as a nation. It is hard to imagine that was only 10 years ago. We had a balanced federal budget. In fact, we were generating a surplus, putting that money into the Social Security Trust Fund to make it stronger. 10 years later, mired deep in debt, it's hard to imagine that that did happen, but it did. And Leon Panetta was a big part of that occurrence. He advised President George W. Bush on how to bring a close to the Iraq War in a responsible way. And for the last 2 years, he has had an awesome responsibility as director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks to the President's strategic focus and Director Panetta's extraordinary leadership, Special Forces and CIA operatives were able to locate and capture Osama bin Laden last month in Pakistan. These are precisely the skills and experiences we need at the table at this moment. I know Leon Panetta is more than just a fellow colleague in the House and a person who shared some time in public service when I did. I know him as a person. I know his family. I know what he thinks. I know his values. And I have to tell you, President Obama and America are really fortunate to have a person of this quality who is willing to give even more of his life in public service. He could have stayed out in Monterey, California, his home area, and no hardship assignment, but he chose not to. He came to Washington to head up the Central Intelligence Agency and now has accepted this invitation to head up the Department of Defense. There's no question in my mind that he will bring to it an extraordinary skill level and amazing values. Director Panetta and I talked for a little bit about some subjects, and one near and dear to my heart, the DREAM Act. The DREAM Act is legislation that I introduced almost 10 years ago, allowing immigrant students who have no country an opportunity to contribute to America. These young people came to the United States with their parents when they were just kids and infants. They've lived here all their lives, and all they want is a chance to prove how much they love this country. The bill I introduced said there are 2 ways that they should be allowed to do it. One, to complete at least 2 years of college, to have obviously a high school diploma and good background, but another, to serve in our nation's military. I've been proud to have the support of Secretary of Defense Gates in this effort, and I look forward to the same support from the next Secretary, Panetta. The DREAM Act would strengthen our military, it would strengthen our nation. And I'm sure, as General Colin Powell has said, immigration is what's keeping this country's lifeblood moving forward, and these young people can help us move forward as a nation to be safer, and create more opportunity. We have a number of challenges ahead. Our men and women are fighting wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Libya. Service members and their families have borne an incredible burden of sacrifice in these conflicts over the last decade. As a nation, we are spending tens of billions of dollars to sustain them in their efforts. At the same time, public support for these undertakings will not last forever. The current situation needs to change, and the President's about to make an announcement when it comes to our troop levels in Afghanistan. We have to craft a way forward that will deal honestly and responsibly with what is possibly one of our most challenging situations in Afghanistan. It has to begin, I believe, with a substantial redeployment of U.S. troops back to America from Afghanistan. Last week, I joined Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon, 24 of my colleagues, in a letter to the President expressing these concerns. I trust the President, the incoming Secretary of Defense, and Congress can find a responsible path forward. We need to take a hard look at every aspect of our federal budget, including the Department of Defense, to sustain our men and women in uniform, but not to waste money on privatization, on contractors, and on runaway contracts. As Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mullen has commented, our greatest national security threat is our ballooning deficit. Of course, we need to protect our country, but we need to do it in a fiscally responsible manner. Even as we address the path forward in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya, even as we trim the spending in the defense budget, we will not back away from our commitment to our men and women in uniform. I know that Leon Panetta shares that sentiment. Mr. President, I support Leon Panetta as our next Secretary of Defense, because now more than ever, we need his steady hand, his leadership to tackle these challenges in budgets, in management, and the critical conflicts we're engaged in around the world. I congratulate President Obama for selecting Leon Panetta for this awesome responsibility. I look forward to working with him on these issues and others in the years to come, and I yield the floor.